make your day richer than it was before. Got some good times knocking upon your front door.
Welcome, everyone, to episode 218. It's Friday. It's Friday. Can you believe it? It seems like it was just Thursday. It seems like I was just wearing this exact outfit yesterday when we talked to Kevin, but here we are on Friday. Actually, I'm waking up today in Florida. You're watching this wherever you're watching this, and this is filmed in South Carolina, but I'm waking up today in Melbourne, Florida for the Wolf Media Festival. I host their podcast, which is fun, with Kyle. And this is their annual, this is all weekend. Tonight, Saturday, Sunday, Wolf Media Fest. If you are a media lover, come on over, get some tickets, come on over. There are film screenings, author signings, author readings, live podcast. There's a ton of stuff. And if you are making media of any kind, check out the Wolf Media Fest. It's a monthly festival that you submit your work to. They have a ton of categories, and you could hopefully win some awards. Come on the Wolf Media Fest podcast, get interviewed by me. But if you're not in Florida, go do that. But if you are in Florida, go get tickets and come to the in-person event. So that's where we're at all weekend. We have a new show on Monday too, but I'll be flying back. So just everyone calm down. So that's exciting. I'm very excited about that. It should be a really fun weekend. What is also fun is outside of the show, I get to produce and edit other podcasts and live streams. And Introspection has a great, beautiful, honest episode this week about infertility. It's April is Infertility Awareness Month, and it's an amazing episode. Amy did a great job. She actually interviewed a man and a woman about their infertility issues. So here's a clip from this week's episode. It's available wherever you get podcasts.
And part of the process included getting a kind of a routine physical, or what was supposed to be a routine physical, blood work, all that stuff done, and submitting that to the university. So I go in, thinking no big deal. I'm pretty healthy. And the doctor, I remember, at the end of it says something's not right. And first time I've ever heard the doctor say that. So I'm like, now I'm anxious. What's going on? What does that mean? And so it was probably about a year worth of testing to figure out what was happening. And I did, tons of blood work. I had an MRI of my brain. I did a chromosome analysis, all these different things to try to figure out what was happening and why it was happening. And ultimately, they concluded that they still weren't sure why it happened to me. They diagnosed me with something called hypogonadotropic hypogonadism.
It's a great episode. You're going to learn so much. And I just appreciate the guests who were so open about their experience. Amy as well, who has her own infertility issues when she was having children. It's a great episode. Go to introspection.com to learn more about Amy and the podcast. It's INN because Amy used to own like an inn. And so it's introspection.com. And if you need help with your podcast, send me an email at makeyourdayricher@gmail.com, and we'll get you all hooked up for that. Okay. What else do I have to tell you? So it's the anniversary, actually. I'm in Florida, but a few years ago, I was actually in the hospital, admitted to the hospital for what turned out to be a fungal infection that took over most of my body. I had 4 surgeries in 3 weeks, and lost. I can't make a fist. See, you can't really tell, but I can't see how I can do this. I can't do that with this finger. See, there you go. Anyway, I've got a hole here in my chest, one in my leg, my hand, whatever. Anyway, I moved after I got out of the hospital, and I had moved, but I couldn't do anything. So I had friends come in and pack everything. They're the best friends, and move me. But during the time I was on a lot of medication and I was exhausted, so I just threw a bunch of stuff away. Side note, don't ever do that because I miss a lot of the stuff that I threw away. But this is one of the, when I was going through getting ready for the Rosie show last month, this is one of the things I found and I forgot to show you, and I'm so excited about it. This is Broadway. The first time I went to see The Lion King, was it in Chicago? No, I think it was in Milwaukee. And I got a signed poster. Look at how big this thing is. A signed poster. And I thought I lost it. I thought I threw it away. But of course I kept it because it's has such sentimental value to me. And I went with my dad and I cried. Such a great show. Anyway, I just wanted to show you that because I love Broadway and musicals and shows and theater and all the things. All right, we have a great show today. And so I'm going to shut up and we're going to go, because joining us today is an author who has penned a remarkable story of redemption set in the heart of Georgia. McCracken Poston Jr.'s first book delves into the case of Alvin Zenith Man Ridley, a man once revered in his community who faced unimaginable accusations. McCracken takes us through the twists and turns of this extraordinary representation, revealing a truth that shocked a town and ultimately speaks to the possibility of understanding and redemption. So please welcome McCracken Poston Jr. Well, first of all, congratulations on the book. It's called Zenith Man. Congratulations on getting it written, getting it published. I know that in and of itself is a huge feat in the world of book writing.
Thank you. And to anybody interested, there is the cover. There are 2 Zenith Man books out there. They're both about the same case.
Oh.
One, Alvin and I had been given the story away to Forensic Files and American Justice and NPR Snap Judgment. And 20 years ago, New Line Cinema was developing a film project from it. I gave them the title and I reserved literary rights. What I didn't realize was there is no copyright in a title. And someone picked up the story from all the different sources and picked up my title that I had given New Line, which had been announced in public, and did a short fictional account, changing our names and changing the location. It kind of made me a little upset at first, but I have since told the author that she got me off my butt. She made me realize, only I can tell this story.
I was going to say, yeah, she doesn't have as personal of an investment as you have had.
Absolutely. I was Alvin Ridley's lawyer in a 1999 murder trial where he was also accused of keeping his wife locked in the basement for 30 years before killing her. Now, Alvin was someone I'd known since childhood. He went to high school with my oldest sister. He was an odd character by typical standards, but he seemed harmless. My dad really liked him. My dad did a lot of business with him, and my dad seemed to always favor outsiders. And and we lived about 5 miles from the county seat of Ringgold, Georgia. So we didn't know all the rumor and speculation about him. But he got married 3 weeks after Dolly Parton and Carl Dean slipped down to Ringgold, Georgia to get married. Alvin and Virginia got their marriage license. But by the time George Jones and Tammy Wynette came to Ringgold, Georgia to get their American wedding vows, Virginia was missing, as put in the local newspapers by her parents in 1968. By the time 1998 came around, 30 years later, the tabloids were saying that Sicko holds wife hostage for 30 years and then kills her. That was the supermarket tabloid, the National Examiner. And so those were the bookends of 30 years of no one seeing this woman. And so I had a real mystery on my hands, but I also had a client who was hell bent on kneecapping my efforts to give him a defense and to develop a defense. And it was an incredible journey of 15 months of trying to figure this guy out. We started getting some breaks. I started realizing that some of what I thought were just completely irrational things that Alvin was wanting me to do, I started realizing that there was a method to him and that he was pushing me in the right directions to make certain discoveries. And so things started working together, and it's the story of the trial. Over half the book is from trial transcript. That may sound dry and boring, but I filled in the blanks, the moments, the side conversations, the evenings between these trials and trial dates. And 22 years after the trial, at the suggestion of one of our jurors who had been dwelling on it for 22 years, she asked me, "Do you think Alvin may be on the autism spectrum?" And it blew me away because I didn't know anything about autism in 1999 at the time of the trial.
Mm-hmm.
I had since, like the rest of the world that, follows things, I had since picked up on it and, of course, had known people who had been diagnosed. And it made all the sense in the world to me. And I took Alvin to Atlanta. He agreed that, I could talk about it. And the diagnosis was obvious and it was true. And it explained everything. And because Alvin allowed me to talk about it on social media, and it also just formed the book in my head instantly. Because in all the tellings of these stories, Forensic Files, American Justice, People Magazine, The Washington Post, NPR Snap Judgment, I was never satisfied because we could never give Alvin justice in describing Alvin. And now I could. And it was just amazing what happened in this little small community. About 3,500 citizens in town, but about 60 plus thousand in the county. Plus we're Metro Chattanooga. And so Alvin was known regionally in 2 or 3 states, North Alabama and even Western North Carolina. And what's amazing was the collective hearts in those areas changed toward him. Everybody kind of understood, and we all started going back, and especially me, while I was writing this book, I realized some of the things that were just driving me to distraction were clearly autism mannerisms. The fact that he obsessed over a 1977 Chevy van and wanted to talk about it more than his wife, that is called looping. Some of his physical things that he did, such as jingling change, what sounded like $27.87 in his pocket at all times, that's stemming. And it was just, it all fell into place. What I'm so happy about is that Alvin lived to see the book come out. He accompanied me to the Jimmy Carter Presidential Library for the launch. We had a packed house. Alvin later told his doctor that he spoke to 300,000 people there. And I told the doctor, knock 3 zeros off the end of that and you're closer. But Alvin told his doctor, he said, and the people smiled and they put their hands together for me and they liked me. And he was feeling that love in his heart. Now, Alvin passed 4 months after the book came out, but he died a very happy and content man who wanted to live to 110. And that's what he would tell me. Alvin had a lot of numbers in his stories and comments, and I just I'm just thanking God that I got the book out and that Alvin got to feel this love and affection in the community. And so,
sorry.
No, please.
I was just going to ask to explain why it's called Zenith Man.
Well, some of you youngsters don't remember the Zenith television brand, which was, and I love your
similar to the one you're in now.
Here,
yeah.
Because this looks like one of the TVs that Alvin sold and repaired in his shop in downtown Ringgold, Georgia. And he was extremely adept at picture tube technology, which was the prevailing technology for televisions until solid state circuitry came along in the 1980s. And TVs used to be very deep. A lot of times they were deeper than they were wide because of the necessity for a picture tube setup. And so they also began to be encased by heavy, beautiful wood cabinetry. So when you bought a big TV for your house, it was effectively a table, and it was a very heavy table. And when it went on the blink, you had to call somebody. You couldn't just throw it in the car and take it somewhere. So Alvin would show up to your house, as he did to our house when I was a young teenager. And I had forgotten one of his visits until during the representation, when he's in his 50s and I'm in my late 30s. Alvin tells me that he met Andre the Giant, and he told me what Andre the Giant, the famous wrestler, ate for breakfast every day. And I immediately remembered that he told me that when I was a young kid. He came to fix our TV. I was watching wrestling. He kind of scared me because my mother had just waved him in, and here's this man in the living room watching wrestling with me that I didn't expect. And I said, Alvin, I think you've told me this story before, because I went to Ringgold Junior High and told everybody I know somebody that knows Andre the Giant. So that triggered a pleasant past memory of him, which helped he and I get along better. But the story is true. I had to write it true because I have to live in this town with everybody that's in the book. But I've been told it's funny, and it's funny at my expense, I'll tell you, because Alvin was really quite wise, not only in picture tubes, but he was quite wise in how he wanted me to manage his case. I didn't recognize it. I felt terrible about some things I said in frustration to Alvin when he would pull stunts like declaring that the Constitution said you don't have to go to court when you're sick. I had been in politics for a decade. I hadn't practiced law that much. And so I had to go look it up first before I could challenge him on that. And then I started having to carry around a paperback copy of the U.S. Constitution to throw it at him and say, find the provision, I'll file the motion. And so Alvin was always second guessing my legal moves. He had waged a lot of frivolous civil litigation in the 1980s, which ultimately resulted in him having his van seized as a part of a counterclaim. And that was the zenith of his conspiracy theories of everybody out to get him. And he blamed the failure of his business on that. Before he died, he sheepishly admitted to me that it was probably solid state circuitry that did him in. And I found him to be a very smart man when all of his life he had been taunted and teased and treated poorly. And so Alvin was very forgiving and very loving. And so he forgave all of his accusers, even endorsing them and helping them in their campaigns. And I think everybody in this book is redeemed. I think it might take the getting to the epilogue and acknowledgments to realize that, but everybody in the book really is redeemed. Nobody was acting badly. People were acting with the information they had at the time. I do have a call to action, though, in the book, and that is for better training of police, lawyers, and judges for the issue of neurodivergent clients and neurodivergent suspects, neurodivergent clients, and neurodivergent defendants. And I think we would all do well to learn more about it. I have since, I have now autistic clients, that it's still relevant in whatever decisions the prosecutors made to follow through and prosecute them, because they have to take into consideration what you may judge as being evasive may just be that they are not processing your question. That suspect is not processing the question that he or she is being asked. And not only was Alvin not processing my micromanaging ways, but I was having difficulty processing him. And so really, it's about two men that finally figured out a way to compromise and work together. And I'm very proud of the story. It should be available at all book sellers online anyway. And I just passed a day before the 10-month mark since the book was released. I just passed my 1,000th rating on Amazon.
Wow.
A few more on Goodreads. And so I would ask if people read it. I think the people who would love this book, and this is a surprising group, because I just wrote Alvin the way it was. And I wrote about my ignorance about autism. And I guess I'm proudest that this book has deeply touched people who love and care for a neurodivergent family member, or they're a teacher and they always say, I knew it from page one. They're showing their advantage over having knowledge of it. I had to write it from my position of ignorance because it was a pure position of ignorance.
When you know better, then you do better, and I think that's
Absolutely.
part of, and that's what this book helps people know better and to learn. And like you said, I love your call to action, because it's not one size fits all life in general, and we need to start taking care of our people.
Absolutely. And I'm shocked and horrified to think how many in the past, how many in the past have even gone to the gallows or the electric chair because of just the inability to have processed that person and what they were trying to say in their effort to try to process the questions that were being thrown at them. And
we love to put people in boxes, right? It makes us feel better to have a label, to put people in a box, and especially with autistic people, that's the saying is like, if you've met one person with autism, you've met one person with autism, because they're all so different.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But there are some common traits. And as I was writing the book and rereading the trial transcript, which I again incorporated, I didn't put any words in any mouths on the stand. And it's some of the funniest part of the book, the stuff that was coming into the transcript. But it was, I was appalled at the realization, reading the transcript, how much the state of Georgia was using Alvin's, what we now know as his autism mannerisms and traits, how much they were being used against him at trial.
Yeah.
They were saying, listen to how emotionless his voice is on the 911 call. And he didn't seem to be upset at all about a wife that just died. Well, I knew by dealing with Alvin that he would be very upset, almost inconsolable at times. But it could go up on and off like a switch. But that didn't make it less, real. And it was delayed. A lot of times that emotion was delayed. And in later years, we'd go to lunch multiple times a week over the last 5 years, religiously every week for the last 15 years. Alvin was very punctual. And he would ask me about somebody because he knew I had a smartphone, and I would look them up, and more often than not, I would find an obituary, and I would tell Alvin about some, old school friend and that they had passed, and there's the obituary. Well, he just didn't seem to be fazed at all. But then the next time I see him, he would be crying uncontrollably because of that death that he didn't know about. So we became a bit of an odd couple of friends, but one that I learned to love very much. And my secretary of the last 16 years was very good with Alvin. And it turns out her job before working for me was working with adults with developmental disabilities. She still didn't pick up on what it was, but there wasn't the pressure for the last 25 years. There wasn't the pressure because, we were over the hump as far as the representation. We were just trying to help him kind of navigate the world, deal with his driver's license and deal with some other legal issues that pop up every now and then.
What do you love most about your life now?
Well, I'm a sole law practitioner and I'm a part-time juvenile court judge, but I have really loved telling this story. And so with the normal things of a traditionally published book, we had a big launch in Atlanta, we had local launches, and I've been all over the country, and particularly the Southeast, and more specifically Georgia, because Georgia is in the title of the book, Zenith Man, Death, Love, and Redemption in a Georgia Courtroom. And my former position in the Georgia House of Representatives made it to where I know somebody in almost every county of the state, if not every county. And so I've used that network to spread out and get the book out and give talks. I've done probably 25 or 30 podcasts at this point. And I love telling the story in a way it keeps Alvin alive. I've been told it's that I am a cinematic writer. In other words, I give a lot of visuals of what's going on, including the cockroaches that came out of Alvin's suitcases into the courtroom. A lot of people are thinking you made that up. But if you'll look at Forensic Files, season 5, episode 9, the jurors are talking about the cockroaches crawling out of the suitcase.
You can't make something like that up either.
And what's amazing about it is, because it was happening in the very small windowless courtroom where we were forced to go to trial, the judge's office was right next to that courtroom, and he wanted those cockroaches eliminated. So he moved the trial to an adjacent courthouse, an older courtroom, which happened to be the last place Virginia Ridley was ever seen in public 27 years before. So it was eerie.
Wow.
that we were moving into that courtroom. And that was the known place, the last place she had ever been seen. She was a recluse. And I don't want to give too much away, but truth be known, they were a perfect couple. They very much loved each other. And Virginia left amazing evidence behind that I was able to utilize to help Alvin, even against his will sometimes. Because like I said, he made me fight for it. Fight him. I had to fight him for the ability to give him what I thought was the best representation. But he was sending me in these directions, and he really deserves much of the credit for how it all came together.
Well, the book is amazing. You should be very proud of yourself. I know, as I'm so glad that he was here to see it come out. I think that's such a great tribute to him and a great way to provide him with a legacy. You did a great job. It's called Zenith Man. It's available wherever you get your books and on Amazon and all the good places. What's the best way that people can connect with you?
Well, McCracken Poston Jr. on all social media. Let me tell you, TikTok is no place for a 65-year-old man to be.
Listen, it's no place for a 40-year-old either.
But I'm there, and I want to point so you'll get the right Zenith Man. That's Alvin and Virginia on the cover in a photo booth at a local amusement park, circa 1965, 66. And it taught me a lot about how much publishers know. I had this piece of folk art by the Reverend Howard Finster that I just knew was going to be the cover, because he painted Alvin. He loved the story. He was local. He loved the story, and Howard Finster is a great folk artist known throughout the world by artists or art lovers, who did the Talking Heads Little Creatures album cover and one of REM's album covers, and was just a self-taught artist and minister. But he loved Alvin and he loved this story. So he painted Alvin in this ridiculous neck brace that Alvin started wearing and made me let him wear in court, which made us look like somebody faking a car accident, in a murder trial. But in a way, it was like a security blanket for him. And so the first day of trial, he forgets it and threatening to leave the courtroom, which he had done before, bolting out of the courtroom. I send my secretary to the medical supply store to get a new one for him. And of course, as the jurors are walking in, here's a lawyer putting a neck brace on his client.
You can't write this stuff. You can't make this stuff up. You can't. You cannot.
It was embarrassing at every turn, but thank God Alvin hung with me.
Well, thank you for sharing your story. Thank you for sharing Alvin's story. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Of course. Life is difficult. Are you feeling overwhelmed or like you could use a little support for your mental well-being? Visit the Help Hub. It's the most comprehensive and inclusive free online destination for mental health resources, helpful tools, crisis hotlines, and supportive content. Just go to thehelphub.co to find the resources you need when you need them most. Unlike other resource pages, the Help Hub is divided into 16 different categories, ensuring that everyone in every community has access to the resources and support that matches their unique needs. Find the help you're looking for at thehelphub.co. That's our show, everyone. Have a great weekend. Go make your day richer. Go make somebody else's day richer. You've made mine by watching this show, and I love you for it. Now's a good time to just share the show. Click that share button now that it's over and be like, oh, you need to watch this episode. It's so good. And if you'd like to support the show, buy us a coffee at buymeacoffee.com/makeyourdayricher. And we will be able to continue bringing these amazing shows to you Monday through Friday. We'll be back Monday with an all-new episode. Have a great weekend, everyone. And go get tickets to the Wolf Media Festival.
Bye-bye.